the Let's Go Racing Family podcast, sharing our love for NASCAR, running, and just racing through life.
Hosted by Sebastian, Giovanni, Karen, Tony, and me, Johan.
Each week we'll talk about our view of the world through the lens of racing.
So, Letsgoracingfamily here. Chicago street race weekend. Oh, hello. Just finished up. I was really excited for that. You guys know how much I love street races, and especially Chicago, especially because NASCAR finally has their own street course that they get to race on, and this year was great. No rain for both races, which was awesome, and it was
Wish
the
that
first
would
time
have
it
happened last year.
I know,
Yeah, that
I'm
would
a
have been
little
nice.
jealous.
Yeah, if you want, we actually went to the Chicago. Okay, we went to the Chicago street race last year. We did a video on it. You can check that out. Check our thoughts out. Let's talk about this year's race because I think there was one driver that just, I mean, we all kind of thought it, but he just showed it. He stood out in not just the Cup race, but the Xfinity race as well. It started on Saturday when SVG won both the Xfinity and Cup poles. Two different cars. Two completely different driving styles, believe it or not. Even though it's supposed to be the ladder up, the two cars are different. One has an H pattern manual transmission, and the other one has a sequential manual transmission. One has 4 gears, the other has 5. One has better brakes, the other one has worse brakes. So it's different cars, and the fact that he put the pole up by a good margin in both of those cars was crazy. And then on top of that, he doubled down by dominating both races and winning them both, becoming the second driver in NASCAR Cup history to win 2 races or to sweep a weekend in Xfinity and Cup from the pole. Do you know who the other driver was?
My guy, Kyle Busch.
Yep, 2016 in Indianapolis.
Bottom line, he was a world-class driver,
100%.
but he had never raced in the Cup Series until 2023. His very first Cup race was
The inaugural street
the
race.
street race at Chicago, and that's why your shirt says Street King.
Street King.
Because he won the big first street race 2 years ago. Then we went to Chicago last year, right? We're there. He wins the Xfinity race. Then the Sunday we're there. We're excited. We're like, he's going to win again. And then he had some trouble.
Turned out to be a big washout.
And he did not win because he got wrecked,
He got
right?
wrecked
What
out
happened?
by Chase Briscoe, unfortunately. Briscoe, I don't know what he was doing, forgot to brake or whatever, and
It was just like everybody
lost
kept
control
spinning to 6.
and shot into the back of SVG and plowed him into the wall, broke the steering arm, and the car
I
was
mean,
done.
hey, Briscoe's not the only one who's ended up in turn.
So fast
turn 6
forward.
years.
Let's fast forward to this year, full time in the Cup Series now, and he's had okay success,
He's been getting
right?
some top 20s on the ovals. Been
And the
bringing them
ovals,
in.
but he's newer to the ovals because a lot of what he raced.
He
was
did have that
essentially-
P14 highlight in the Coke
Coke
600.
So he's had some success and he's building on the ovals, but this year they went to Mexico for the first time, Mexico City, right? And what happened there?
He lit everybody up, set the next gen winning distance. I forget what the proper term for it is, but basically the distance between him winning and second place was 16 seconds.
Which is like
The
And he also
largest
got
in
the
next gen
pole.
history. And he started on the pole
He started on the pole, and he won that
and then won the race.
race also.
Yep.
and then now this past Sunday,
Yeah.
here he is back in Chicago. He won.
Although when the race started in that first stage, McDowell actually took off, and
But hold on, back
he
up.
was-
Speaking
he
of-
was in the
Say
lead.
so, what was the
Little
thing with
things in the
McDowell
media.
leading up to that?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, and McDowell had been like,
he's
you know,
talking trash.
some smack,
Talking trash. Pissing
talking
me
some
off.
smack about SVG, and so like when he took off, I was actually like, oh man, I hope he's not really backing up his trash talking because I mean,
he look because we're not the
I don't
biggest
know.
fans of
He was
McDowell.
getting
I don't know if
pushed.
he was.
getting
I don't
pushed
know if
by
he was
Shane.
doing.
So
that. I
him
think he was
talking
pushing
trash to
himself.
one of our favorite drivers, we're like, all right, let's see what he
yeah,
got.
let's see what he's
and
got.
for the first
But then-
stage, we're like,
but
oh,
then
darn.
he takes off and he passes him, and I was like,
I
oh
don't know. I
man,
wasn't
I
worried
hope
about
not.
it. I was-
But I
he
was.
he had led
This
the
is
first
McDowell,
stage.
though.
So listen, I was worried
No
about it,
disrespect to
but then
McDowell,
as the lap started going, I'm like, you know what? He is pushing his car as hard as
Yeah.
he can.
Well, that was
you
the
could
thing.
tell, and SVG was behind him, right?
pushing
and he was not only was he pushing him, but also
He's
you
also
could tell
smoother.
he was kind of like just gauging it, right? He's gauging it.
He's a smoother driver.
He's not pushing it as hard, and he's kind of like, all right, McDowell, you want to be the big boy up in the front? Go ahead. You know, And so then, like I said, as the lap started like winding, I was like, okay, I think something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen with McDowell's car because I feel like he's over driving it. And even Gio, you kept saying towards the end of that stage, you're like, he's over driving it. He's over driving it.
He's pushing it. To the max.
I could tell because like when SVG was behind him and they were running 1 and 2, they put who was running third. I think it was Kyle Busch. And they had like an 8-second buffer between them. Or between them two and
Between
Kyle
second
Busch.
and
then I think a caution came out. Yeah, and then SVG got he
SVG
pitted.
went
No,
in
it was
for
the end of
pit.
the stage. Yeah.
Yes,
end
it
of
was close
stage.
to
So
the end of
now
stage.
he was back in like 18th or something like that, middle of the pack. I think he was like 20th or
Yeah,
whatever.
McDowell and the rest of the guys stayed out.
Yeah, McDowell stayed out to control the stage and keep going and hopefully flip it. And as the stage was going on, McDowell pulled away, but only by about a second. And even if the gap wasn't growing, it kind of just stayed. And the person who was behind him, which I think at that time was Reddick, was just managing the gap. Obviously, don't run your car too hard, which is why I believe that McDowell was trying so hard to stay ahead. He was pushing his car to the absolute limit because he knew SVG was faster. Shane was just keeping his pace, which was, again, so much faster than McDowell's that he was trying so hard to keep it up that... What was it, around the end of, or middle of stage 1?
It was the beginning.
It was middle of
middle
stage,
of stage
2,
2.
almost at the end. Yeah.
Because that was out. Yes,
Because there was a caution that came out.
Stage 2.
Shane was working his way to the front.
Once McDowell ended up kind of falling back, and in all honesty, like, I don't say that I still believe SVG would have won. He would have figured out what he needed to do. It would have been much more competitive.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But I think SVG would have won. I don't think he won because McDowell wasn't there.
No. And
Yeah,
again,
no,
I don't think even in that first stage, I think he gave him the, he's like,
He
well,
did what he
clearly,
had to do.
You're clearly faster than me. Go ahead right in front of me. And I think he was just kind of like, he wasn't going to push it to the limit and in the first stage.
Because, I mean,
Well, he did enough, though. He did enough to do exactly what you guys were
yeah,
saying.
exactly.
He did what he had to do, push and push. Because if you look at the way that they separated those top 2 cars from everybody else, it was very clear. McDowell had to run hard to stay in front of SVG, and SVG was like he was doing his thing.
Yeah.
And if he needed to, I agree with you. If it was in the last few laps, he would have been much more aggressive, and probably would have passed him. But he did just enough to
like
keep
you said,
him
with
pushing.
SVG, and it's not that he didn't win just because McDowell was not in the contention. He also had some competition with Reddick at the end with the fresher tires and all that stuff, and him lapping a lot faster, like almost I think a second faster. Shane, I think, was still calm, cool, collected. That I think. He knew with the laps winding down, it was going to be close if Reddick could catch him. But I think Shane was a good enough driver that if Reddick got around Ty Gibbs at the end, I think Shane would have held him off if there's an extra
even
lap.
if had that last, because I know Cody Ware crashed with like about 1.5 laps to go and they got by the stripe and then they called the caution and people were upset that the race didn't enter green. Even if they were to have a restart, I still think SVG would have been able to pull away because you would have had Ty Gibbs and Denny Hamlin behind fighting Tyler Reddick to also get into second to have the shot at SVG. And even if SVG's defense into turn 1, I mean, look at the Xfinity race when he was on the inside line, almost in the wall at one point, and he still got up the inside of Zilich and passed him and got through. He did it multiple times, and he could make awkward passes throughout the track in pretty much every position. He could turn 11, turn 7, turn 6, turn 4 and 5.
He makes turns like very close to the wall and he doesn't touch it. And some of the other drivers, they like touch the wall and they slingshot against to the other one. So he's very skilled at learning how to like turn those make those turns in those walls. One of the things too that they were saying is like this track, because it's a street course, it has walls. Yeah. That like the road courses don't. So like next week they go to Sonoma, it's going to be wide open.
If you mess up, you're just going off
just go into
the
the gravel or the grass or whatever. And so that was one of the things that these cars or these drivers were. It was much more narrow because of the walls. But SVG just can he can handle those turns and those walls.
I think
like
that's
nothing.
part of the reason I love street courses. Sorry, what were you going to say, Dad?
No. I was just going to say, maybe you were going to go there. I think what's kind of cool is seeing you guys actually drive the Chicago track on your rig and in iRacing, because you let me do it for a couple laps. Did you end up doing it? it is hard.
Hard.
And
Very
and
tight.
and so let take away the fact that you know what you're doing, because you do, because I was actually very impressed, because when I drove the car, and I drive, right? I'm driving your rig and I'm driving around Chicago and I'm like wrecking all over the place. And then I saw you lay down some laps that were pretty close to what the qualifying. What did you say, top?
I did I think my fastest lap I ran was like a 29.6 or something, which was like right behind Shane.
So it's the thing is, until you do something like that, you realize how tight those turns are, and how quick. And it's just amazing that, like you said, like when we watched him do it, and then I remembered me, trying on the rig, and then seeing you actually do it. It amazes me that how consistent he had to be for 50, 60, 70. How many laps was it?
It was
75.
75 laps. And if he messed up, he had
You
all
make
those
one
guys
mistake,
behind him.
You're gonna go.
And then, what's his
all
name?
over
What
the
happened?
Carson Hocevar
Took out
made
like
a mistake, and it caused Austin Dillon, our boy Daniel Suarez, poor Suarez, like literally
What a rough
the
week.
race after the announcement that he and Trackhouse are parting ways, he gets taken out on lap 4 by someone
he
else's
was-
mistake.
Sunday to Sunday.
He was
been bad.
my
He
dark
gets-
horse.
He got
took
caught
out-
up in Atlanta, then gets dropped by Trackhouse, and then gets caught up in a mess.
He
Not of
took
his own.
out Keselowski as
Will Brown.
Hocevar took out Keselowski. Will Brown. I don't know if you guys know, but he
the
was
Supercar champion
another
of 2024.
supercar driver that was coming up and making his debut. And it was funny because earlier in the week he was like, I mean, you saw how hard it was for Shane to win. I mean, I would love to win in my debut, but it's going to be tough. And he crashed on lap 4
because of the whole
Hocevar.
thing. And as fans, I'm sitting there watching it, and we're thinking, what are you doing? It's crazy. But then when I did the lap and I tried driving, and then you did it, and I was like, oh, snap. And you're like, yeah, this turn is tight, and how quick you have to be. I had a little bit more grace for Carson Hocevar, because
Well,
it
that's
is
why I
very
say
tight.
you barely nick the wall.
actually-
and if you don't know how to control that, you ricochet straight into another
So-
wall.
Also, with how
because there's only
Carson's car
so
was
much
that race.
distance
Yeah.
that when he hit the wall, his car started.
And you have to drive
flipping
that
around.
aggressive to stay in front. And if you don't, you're going to get passed.
And on the street course, you have to especially with Chicago. I mean, Parker Klingerman earlier in the week, he was doing some media stuff for it, and he was like, if you're doing a lap and you haven't touched a wall at least once, you're probably not going fast. And he's right, because even on my own personal laps on iRacing, I nicked the walls in turns 11 and turn 6 and turn 4 and 5. You have to just get so close and be so precise. And that is the thing I love about street courses, because you're on the streets. One, I think it's so cool to see the roads that a Honda Civic and a Toyota Sienna are driving on
And
one
honestly,
day
you just drive
be
on
used
it.
by a racetrack or be used by race cars. It's so cool. Chicago is so beautiful because of the backdrop. Awesome track layout. I love it. But also just because you're confined to just the walls. And other road courses, you have runoffs. You have spaces where you can make mistakes and keep going. These tracks are unforgiving. They are challenging to drive. And I think they really separate a good road course racer between an incredible road course racer. And I think that's why SVG is so good at these, because he's so precise and he's able to find the limit. And another thing I love about them is that because it's so tight and you still have space to kind of find it, it's like the track almost speaks to you and it's like, come a little bit closer, come a little bit closer. And you have to be able to find the limit where you can be just close enough. But if you're not careful enough and you don't give yourself enough space, you end up in the wall like Carson Hocevar did. And
So-
he got a little bit too greedy.
He got a little greedy
and
too
he
early.
took himself out.
I will say, I think this track proves a geocities that it shows the best of the best on road courses. I think if you take some of the best drivers from each series, like F1, IndyCar, IMSA, WEC, Australian Supercar, and you put them on here, I think this would make a great race to see who's the best of the best, because I think this track is just so much based on just talent and pinpoint knowledge, and you have to know ball of racing, because if you get one little measurement wrong when you're trying to hit get as close to the wall, you nick the wall like you said, you're gonna end up in the wall.
So, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, I know we've been talking a lot about Shane Van Gisbergen, but I think there's 3 people I want to give shout outs to. One of which being my guy Kyle Busch, who got a top 5 in this
Finally
race.
broke. I think the curse might be over.
Maybe, because it's been a painful year. Technically, it's been painful couple of years as a Kyle Busch fan.
rebounded from
He even
getting
spun out during the race. I don't know if you guys remember that. Kyle Busch spun himself
Fell to the
out,
rear of the
turned
field.
around, was down in 30th, and somehow ended 5th place.
I saw a picture today on the I saw a picture today, and it was basically Kyle Busch's stage results. It was stage 1, he's finished 2nd. Stage 2, 31st, and then stage 3, the end of the race, was 5th. A great rebound for Kyle Busch.
The second person I want to shout out is Catherine Legg, who had to qualify her way into this race, and with all the chaos and also her ability to drive, she was able to top 20. And you said
19th.
that she became the first woman to not only race on the Chicago street course, but also the first woman to get a top 20 since Danica Patrick back in 2017.
2017, which is
Yeah,
crazy to
that's
think
actually
about.
really amazing, and I definitely give props to her. I was very happy for her because she actually sent home Corey Haim, and so I was like, oh man, Catherine, please go out there and do your best and make sure that you don't, 1, get out of the race, or 2, end up last, because I don't want people saying, oh, look at, she got in and sent Corey home and didn't do anything.
then she
So
finishes
Even got involved in a wreck
so
at some
I'm
point.
so happy that she did really well, and
Yeah,
that
she actually spun out and fell to the tail end again and worked her way back
What
up. to
what
19th.
team did she drive for?
Live fast in the 78,
Yeah.
and
Who
they
are
are
they connected with?
Just a part-time
no one.
team.
They're
Yeah,
literally
they're a
just a
part-time
part-time team that
You
shows
know,
up whenever they
Are
have
they
enough money
Chevy,
to.
Sometimes,
Toyota,
yeah.
Chevy, they're Chevy.
Ford.
I mean,
But
yeah.
they have
she went
no
to
connection.
Mexico, right?
She raced in
Yeah.
Mexico. She had
A
an
little bit
alright
of a
running.
struggle.
She was much
She
slower
did
there,
Phoenix,
but
Mexico, and then Chicago. She's also done some starts in the Xfinity Series.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Seabass, who's your third person?
Well, he really didn't do anything much in the race, but I'm going to shout out Ty Dillon for the fact that because
sir.
of
Yeah,
Ty
not,
Dillon
because
all
not
the way.
just
Yes,
this
sir.
week, but all the chaos that happened last week in Atlanta, he is one step closer to potentially winning $1 million.
Seed 32, by the way,
Thanks
in
to
the
this
bracket.
whole in-season bracket, because his competition, Denny Hamlin, last week crashed out, and this week it was Brad Keselowski who crashed out. Now I gotta say, if I was Alex Bowman, I feel like there's a mysterious
All I need to
force
see is
that's
Alex
gonna target
Bowman
him
go
in Sonoma.
behind
So
the
I was
wall
gonna
next
say,
week.
so basically his competition needs to keep crashing out.
No, but honestly, I have faith in my boy Ty.
If we roll into Indianapolis and on the or whatever it is, the western side of the bracket is Ty Dillon going up against Tyler Reddick.
Oh, no, Tyler Reddick's
I
in the
love
wall.
Tyler Reddick, but if that 45 shoots off into turn 1 and I see the 10 sail off to $1 million, I will be the biggest Ty Dillon fan ever. I tell you, I love Ty Dillon. He's been saying a whole bunch of quippy lines. I love him and Mamba and the whole thing they're going through. Like hey, Denny Hamlin
Tyrone.
fans, I beat your favorite driver, and Mamba coming over and calling him
Tyrone
Bracket Bustin' Dillon.
All right, I
It's not even his name, too. It's hilarious.
I'm not a fan of this bracket situation.
You don't like it, but you don't like the NBA one. Okay, the NBA one's kind of
The NBA one.
This
That
one is
one's
cool.
dumb.
I think you just
mean,
It
didn't.
keeps
a
the
little
season
better.
going.
I think you need to just
The
look
fact
into it more.
That, okay, just Ty Dillon. What's his points position right now?
I don't know. I think he's like top 25.
He's inside the top 30. Being inside the top 30 points for...
and you got
Wait,
I'm pretty
is he
sure he's
above-
ahead of
if
his
he is,
brother.
He's
Hold on,
ahead
let
of
me
his
fact
brother.
check that.
I
Let me
think.
fact check
Yes.
that.
no Grandpa.
He's
Well,
ahead.
I also
Grandpa,
want
you might
I want you to.
Oh,
Three.
actually, speaking of Grandpa, Gio found something out because I have been saying I wonder if Ty is a better driver than his brother, but his brother got an opportunity because Grandpa
older. He's older.
runs the team. Yes. But Gio actually found out that Ty Dillon made the choice not to drive. He did not want to drive for his grandfather because he wanted to prove himself. That he wasn't just getting
All
what
right,
he was
I
getting
guess I can get on the
because
Ty
of
Dillon
his
bandwagon.
because of his.
So I was
his
wrong.
grandpa.
I was wrong. Ty Dillon is 32nd in points, but he is okay. If Austin Dillon continues on his terrible trend, he could very possibly pass Austin Dillon. For perspective, Austin Dillon is 315 points right now and is in 26th. Ty Dillon is 32nd, 291.
All right. I mean,
Also, RCR equipment is slightly better than colleague equipment. So
Also, he's driving
Yeah.
the cursed 10 car, or was the 31, because the people who drove in the second colleague car that's not the 16 have terrible luck. And I think if you put him in a good car, I think he can deliver some good results even in playoff.
So who is he competing with this coming week?
Alex Bowman.
Which
We're
I
playing a
don't
little
even
dirty
think,
with Bubba
this is
Wallace.
all like this whole bracket thing. Whoever decided to put Atlanta as the first race, that's
ruined
what
everything.
destroyed everything. Like literally every single bracket that every person submitted
Because
was
of
broken.
Atlanta.
I handcrafted my bracket. I was like, okay, this is gonna happen. This was gonna happen. This is gonna fall into place.
Not even March Madness brackets like lose
Get
this
busted
quickly.
Round
Destroyed
one.
this
For
quickly.
perspective, like NASCAR they probably did that because they wanted to save themselves an extra million. Because I mean, if they were like, oh, any fan that gets a perfect bracket will win $1 million. Atlanta was over, and they were like, yeah, there's no perfect brackets left. You all lost.
I mean, those are like slim odds for somebody to have the perfect.
You would have had to pick
bracket.
Ty Dillon.
I mean, there's people in March Madness that do
maybe
get it.
it's doing its point in the fact
we
that
had
we're
that
talking
Bubba
about
We're talking
it.
about it.
We're talking
People are
about Ty
getting-
Dillon that no one talks about, and now he's getting media time.
Though here's a question: which do you want to see more? A Ty Dillon in-season tournament win, or SVG surprising everyone and winning the championship? Because he's 4th in the playoffs right now. That's the crazy thing. Because he won Mexico and he won Chicago, which means because of the whole win rankings, he's 4th.
Yeah.
FYI, we
Only-
still
he
have
is- he
Sonoma
is
and Watkins
fourth.
Glen coming up.
He is
and
4th
Daytona.
in drivers
Roval in the
that
playoffs
have
and
wins. We've got the first 3 drivers have 3 wins, and he has
He's
2
at 2.
wins.
Everybody else is at 1.
We talked about it. There is a path for him if he could win one more road course race or just one more.
He has
race,
2
but
potential races
likely
here.
road course that very likely he could
3,
win.
honestly.
He could position himself. I think who said it? If he were to win this coming week,
I think if he wins
he'd
this
be
week,
number one
and he
going
gets,
for the
I think
playoffs.
at least 1 stage point or a couple stage points, he'll go in. We'll be going into what's after Sonoma, Dover. We'll go into Dover, and he'll be leading the playoffs.
which is wild because in that case, he doesn't have to win in the rounds. He just needs to stay up front. And
Well-
as long as he can keep doing that and then get later, and then there is a road course in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Roval.
I mean, it's kind of
There's
wild
the
to
Roval
think,
in the
but
round of
it
12.
could happen.
Talladega's in the round of 8, but also don't forget Sonoma's next week, which he's doing a double header. So can you imagine he sweeps both those races again? Then later, a couple weeks later, we have Watkins Glen, another road course, which he's doing the double and could potentially sweep both of those. I mean, honestly, a win in the cup
3
would be
doubles.
great. But then there's also Daytona. And SVG, believe it or not, is pretty good at restrictor plate or draft track
He
style.
led a bunch of laps in Dega.
He's led a lot in Dega. He's led
he was
in
running up
Daytona.
front of Atlanta until
He's
he got
led in
hit.
Atlanta. He actually, in his first ever race in Atlanta, you know where he finished in Xfinity Series? 3rd place. He could seriously do some damage to the playoffs with these next couple races. And if he continues to get better and better at ovals, he's only going to become more and more threatening for legitimate title contention. I mean, he's still creeping up the points here.
It could happen.
And I mean, also, I'd like to point out Indianapolis is after Dover and the final race of the in-season tournament. You know where he finished last year? He did the Xfinity race. Do you want to know where he finished? 4th place.
It is definitely a great race, and yesterday's race was so fun to watch. I was no regrets that we didn't go this year,
No
but I
rain
was
this
a
time.
little
Oh,
jealous.
there's some regret.
There was I was a
definitely
little
regretted not going.
jealous
I regret
that
not going.
that like we didn't get this last year because I was like so excited for that. But it is such a fun and exciting race. So yeah, I hope that we do go, like NASCAR does go back, and I hope that people like go out and see this because it's like it is such an amazing and different race.
If we
that
could have,
it's so
if we
fun.
could have, we would have gone with, for whatever reason we couldn't make it this year. We thought about it and we were like, do it. We just couldn't do it. So we decided we're going to watch it from home. We watched the whole thing from start to finish. It was actually it's actually an interesting watch. We will say, no offense, TNT. Some of
What
your
the
camera
heck was
angles.
going on?
Guys,
We're
please,
all looking
I need my
The
Pookie
one,
Prime
the
back.
one behind the trees,
The trees,
in the front stretch.
the trees.
It's like,
come on.
I think SVG was running side by side with somebody trying to get like second place with the lead, and we're like, does he get him?
And then-
What the trees are in the way?
No, and then the Bubba
But
Bowman
then
battle.
somebody, yes, the
Bubba
Bubba.
gets turned, and you're like,
We
yo,
missed it.
look at
They
these
had
cars
cameras
going
on
by.
him the whole
missed it
time,
because the
and then we see
camera was
Bubba,
not
and
in
then they're
place.
like, oh, something happened.
No,
And then
we
the
just see
camera
Bubba's
switches,
car
and
backwards,
Bubba's
then
just
it's
So-
driving backwards.
We love Chicago. The one thing I will say is if NASCAR does not come back to Chicago, we will all cry. However, we do believe that they realize the importance of having at least one street race on the schedule, and there's rumors of other cities, and the top two, oddly enough, are your mom's and my cities. One of them being San Diego, and the other one's Philadelphia.
I think it's just cool how like Philly and San Diego, because when you and I went to the Super Bowl parade in Philadelphia for the Philadelphia Eagles, it was like so cool. But I felt like the roads were wide enough where they could do a street.
We
race.
actually did say that. I mean, this is what happens when you're waiting 2 hours for the parade to come by in the same spot. And we were talking about it, and I was like, I wonder if this is wide enough to get some stock cars through this area. It would be incredible. I think it's more of a long shot, honestly. I think part of that is Pocono doesn't want that to happen because that would siphon fans away.
Same with Dover, isn't
and
Dover?
Dover,
in
because they're
Pennsylvania
very
as well?
close.
Very close.
But so the race that I think is more likely to happen, if it does, according to the rumors, is San Diego. Why? Because that gives you a South California market where they don't have really anything.
They only have like wine country in California, but that's more like
No,
is that
but
up north?
that's a
Yeah.
lot north of
But like
California
also
than
like
you
isn't
think.
San Diego
so.
near LA, all that stuff?
Well, it's
Like, the big-
San Diego is an hour
the
and a half south.
I don't know
of
my
LA.
geography.
Not to mention, let's not forget that California lost a track with the Auto Club
Exactly.
Speedway.
Right, Auto Club,
That ain't never
and
happening.
also like they were doing the Clash Out at the Coliseum for
That
like
ain't
3
happening.
years, and so that's done too. So nothing below Sonoma. There's nothing below Sonoma,
And you need
in,
that.
in California where you're gonna have a track. So
I'm
yeah.
hoping that it'll be San Diego or Philly. I would love Philly personally. It's closer. We would definitely go to that one. I think it's going to be San Diego if it's not Chicago. So we'll see. But in any event,
I'm just saying there's some cool
street
things you can do in
racing is
Chicago.
really cool.
Here's the thing I want to say, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and I just hear me out on this. And if NASCAR somehow listens to this, here's the thing. Street racing is such an important thing in motorsports history. Doesn't matter if it's NASCAR, if it's Formula One, IndyCar, hell, even rally. Doesn't matter. MotoGP. Street racing is the root, the bare, like the core root,
The foundation,
center,
the
the
beginning.
foundation and beginning of motorsports. When we didn't have tracks, we took to the streets and we closed down sections. We didn't even put barricades up back in the days. We were just running streets and like, hey, don't get hit. NASCAR started on a beach in Daytona.
And the street.
In the streets, too. Street races are the foundation of motorsports. And in my opinion, they are the most raw, most true form of motorsport. One of the most true form of motorsports we have nowadays. Sure. Is the racing sometimes boring? Yes, absolutely. F1 is very much evident of that. But that's because those cars are so big. But I think each racing series has its own special street course. Monaco and F1 are commonly associated. IndyCar has always had Long Beach. That's been one of the most iconic tracks out in California. And it's probably, aside from Monaco, the most well-known street course. This Aussie V8 Supercar Series has the Gold Coast, and if you don't want to consider that, you can say Adelaide over there. There's plenty around the world. At nearly every country has a street course. We have one in Florida. I don't know if you guys know. There's a St. Petersburg street course. They use an airstrip as a part of it. It's so cool. IndyCar races there. I really think we should go one day. And NASCAR needs their staple street course. And in my opinion, that is Chicago. The first ones to race on it, the first ones to do it, and a track that has created NASCAR history with SVG, again, being their first ever like official modern street course. It's a city that has a lot of history. It has a lot of culture. There's passion behind it, and
amazing architecture.
It's a sports city. The Bears, the Cubs, the White Sox, the Bulls.
I was going to say, you can't forget Michael Jordan.
I had to leave him there. Michael Jordan. He owns a team that races there. You have one of the biggest fast food restaurants in the world based there, McDonald's. This is an important city, not just in America, in the world and in the racing world. And in my opinion, Chicago is that staple track that NASCAR needs on their schedule. Make Chicago the staple track. And I know people like Chicagoland. And if you want, bring Chicagoland back, but put it as the Clash or even the All-Star race. That way it's still getting raced on. But I believe wholeheartedly that NASCAR needs their own street course. And I don't want to see them bouncing around cities. I don't want this to go 3 years in Chicago, another 3 years in San Diego. Maybe they go to Boston because there was the scrapped street course there. And if they get something there, 3 years in Boston, 3 years in St. Pete's, and we're just jumping city to city. It'll be cool to get different markets open. But I think having that market in Chicago and bringing the racing to the people is the beauty of street racing. And I think Chicago has done a great thing with that. And I really hope that, like you guys were saying earlier, we see it return to the schedule next year. This track isn't just special to NASCAR, it's personally special to me. I've had a dream for a long time of seeing NASCAR on a street course. I remember when I was younger, I made a cardboard version of Monaco and raced all of my NASCAR diecast on it because it was my dream to see a NASCAR stock cars on a street course. And I finally got to see it in 2023. Got to go to it in 2024. And even though it rained out, it was still an incredible experience to be able to be in a street course. I was in the middle of Chicago with you guys, watching a NASCAR race happen, seeing city life go on in the background, and a race happening right in the heart of a park that was surrounded by a gorgeous backdrop, and then getting to see it happen again this year. It is just something special to me. It's something that I believe is special and important to the sport, and I believe it needs to stay. Chicago and NASCAR should go hand in hand together, and I really hope we see this track down along the line in the future. And even if they test out San Diego for a year, I'd love to see them return to this track because I think it's special. It's got potential. The layout is great, and the city itself fits, I think, exactly what NASCAR needs.
I don't think there's any better way to end the episode. So I think that's really cool. 100% agree. I hope you're right. I hope Chicago stays on the calendar. And if not, I hope they decide to bring it back one day if they can't this next year. So, all right. With that, Giovanni, why don't you take us out?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning on in to our podcast. Make sure you follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Trying to pump out more content, so make sure to stay subscribed, stay followed. Make sure you're checking all of our stuff out. Anyway, Let's Go Racing Family, out.